Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Schelly's Shop. This week we're going to be taking a step back from working on our own projects. We're over at my buddy Ivan over at Evange's, and we're going to be taking the cab off of his 1972 GMC 1500 four-wheel drive. It's a pretty cool truck. It's an old CN truck, which is a Canadian National Railway CNR truck, and it's pretty cool. It's a good truck. We're going to be pulling it off to rebuild the cab for him. Yeah, I'm going to be just doing a quick video on how to rip the cab off one of these trucks, so stick around. All right, so before we go diving into pulling bolts and nuts off this thing, let's have a quick walk around to show you guys what's so cool about this truck. So let's get into this. So as you can tell, like, it's a pretty clean engine bay. The inner fenders are rotted, but the points that really rust out in the engine bay on these trucks is always your rad support. And underneath your battery tray on the front, it always seems to rot out because the battery acid, I think, falls down and just rots out everything. So normally this area on these trucks is pretty rotten on two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, three-quarter ton. It doesn't matter. Another area if you want to do a full restoration on a cab, another area that's pretty common to rust out in is right in this area right here on both sides. It accumulates leaves up to here, and for some reason, right here on both sides rusts away. So if you're looking at buying a truck, a cab on a fully assembled truck, and you can't see down in around your cowl, this is the spot to look for. If that's rotted out, it's a good chance the rest of the lower section is rotted out. So let's move ahead and we'll start looking inside the cab here. This might be a 71. This might be a 71 actually. It doesn't have the divots in the door. Right here, 72s. It's an early 72 if it is a 72. I'm gonna crunch the number when I get home. That's what it says in the door tag, but it's...
No, I know, but
yeah, it does say that in the blue tag on the door.
No, I know, but it depends on which month.
Yeah. Because 72s are known to...
6 month of 71, so it could be a 71 or a 2.
Yeah,
at the
okay.
6 month.
Because 72s have this right here.
But yeah, the serial number would tell you.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter. They're both disc brake.
Yeah.
So, cool. All right, so this is... look at this door. Factory door. Shutting real well. Yeah, so we was just discussing with Ivan on a 72. This is a 71, we believe. It's built in the 6 months of 71, so definitively 72s have an indent somewhere along here to help hold this vent window in. And probably, maybe, I don't know, I wasn't alive then. The early 72s maybe don't have it, but for sure 72 is the only year to have that. So yeah, this door shuts really, really well. That's another good thing to look for. Along here, the door gap's all good, so you know your cab is structurally sound. There can be rust that comes in along here, and that means your whole drip rail is rotted down. Now that's repairable. Everything's repairable. But the thing that really is hard for me to justify buying a cab just for the cab, or a truck just for the cab, is above the windshield. If you want to come in here, I'll show you that. So you want to look up here. Above here, it rots out, and it can be a little deceiving. Sometimes it doesn't look too bad, and then when you get into it, you want to pull this back along here, and you're going to look for rust all along up behind the seal. And when that rots out, typically the cab's, in my opinion, not worth salvaging. And in Canada, the cabs can be really rough, and when I see that the roof's rotted away, it really kills it for me. But this cab is solid. Another thing is the kicker panels. Easy to repair. It doesn't deter me whatsoever. Kicker panel, and when you get up into the toe board, is another area that they like to rust out, especially on the driver's side. That again is not unrepairable. It's just a lot more difficult because it's another quadrant of steel you got to cut into, because the toe panel actually turns into your firewall. And then the floors, everyone knows on any truck ever made, the floors always go, the rockers, cab corners, that's all what I would consider normal rust. When you get into the abnormal rust, like above the windshield, in the cowl vent. Yeah, so with all that being said, this truck has no floor supports left in it. The whole floor is going to get replaced. We're going to do cab corners, rockers, kicker panels, and then this thing should be rust free. I mean, it will be rust free when we're done with it. Okay, so I guess the next step after showing you guys the truck a little bit, showing all the points of interest when you're looking at cabs, is how to get the cab off. This truck's gonna get a new front clip, most likely, unless we decide to try to repair these fenders. So we're gonna rip the front clip off. The first thing you need to do when you want to pull the front clip off as one section, like we're gonna do in this video, is you wanna get the bumper off, because the bumper will stop the front clip from sliding off without damaging it. So I think there's 3 or 4 bolts on each side to pull that off, and it usually fights you every step of the way. And then after that, there's 2 bolts that hold the rad down, and they're usually underneath the rad itself on the rad support, and they can be a bit of a bear. Then there's 2 bolts over here underneath this I call the valance. Underneath here there's a bolt here and a bolt here, and there's 1 more down here. This one can be tricky. Actually, I think, yeah, there's 1 or 2 down here. I forget exactly off the top of my head, but they can be real tricky because it rusts, and then the crown nut that gets on the back side of the fender breaks free and it spins. So a lot of times you end up cutting them off. So yeah, so that's just to get the front clip off, as well as you got to take into consideration anything that's connected to the firewall and to the front end. You got to remove. So for instance, for this one would be the steering column shaft. The steering column shaft, it has a bracket that keeps it tucked away in the fender. I'll show you guys in a second. You got to remove that. That's 4 bolts. Then the emergency brake cable as well as the speedo cable has got to be removed. The electrical runs through the front driver's side of the fender. You have to pop that off the bulkhead connector, and the radiator, you got to disconnect that, and then that should be everything to pull the front clip off the truck. All right. Normally I have an impact to do this all. Doing this, you want to make sure if there's any body shims in there, because sometimes these trucks from the factory have shims everywhere because they're just built on mass production. Not everything is perfect. Not everything can be my wife. This is always a bastard. A lot of this, my friend, is trial and error. Learning how to do things. And since I always work on old vehicles, my methods can be a little crude. So there's a whole bunch of these. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but any screw that you go to attack, okay, if your screwdriver doesn't fit in there perfectly, the likelihood of you stripping it goes up exponentially. So take the 10 seconds, take the 30 seconds, and scrape out the dirt that's in it. Get a pick, get a file, use whatever you got on hand. Like this one right here isn't going in all the way. And even if you do all that work, you can still strip, and it's super annoying. So you just gotta get in there and work it out as best you can, the dirt, and once they start to strip, it can be a real bugger. That's weird. It's spinning in the bumper, but the cap, tried to hold it on, but the cap is broke free. I've only had like 2 trucks in my entire life where I got them off. Because every other time they spin. That's when you get the torches, because they're really awkward to get to. Okay. We got one! Fully restored. I don't know, man. I don't know how I'm gonna get the other one. Holy tabernacle, eh? I need the breaker bar. I feel my knuckles breaking already. Holy tabernacle. 280 pounds, can't break this thing free on a little wheel. Oh, wish we had some squirrel piss to put on it. We're doing all this work to save these nuts and a bumper that's completely junk. It's scrap. Our torches didn't have the right fitting on it, so Ivan's ripping into the city to go get the right stuff. I think we just wait for the torches and cut these. I'll get a little more effort. I'm not a coward, it's just time over effort. Economy of effort. We're getting less than a quarter turn each time. What do you think, Adam?
Torches.
Torch work it is.
Just for clearance, what is squirrel piss?
It's like breaker fluid, penetrating oil, whatever you want to call it, or just the watered down or fueled down oil works too. Diesel fuel works. Squirrel piss is normally WD-40.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Squirrel piss. Okay, we're ready to take the valence off. I got all the screws out of it and the two bolts. The only thing that's really holding it on now is the antenna, but I think you need to get to the other side in order to pop this apart. There's so many different variants of it. Yeah. Oh, this one's ran. This isn't a factory one. And what's kind of catching it up is the windshield wiper arms that come out of they're kind of holding it down there. So we're getting to the other side and pop it up something. Yeah, like right here they get caught. Don't get frustrated. Just kind of there, just like that. Lean it up. These things are actually quite fragile, so you want to put them in a spot where you're not going to be sitting, late on a Friday night. Put them up out of the way. These get all bent up if you're not careful taking the windshield wiper blades off and the arms and stuff off. So, they're cheap, but to find really good ones is getting harder. They're out there. They're just hard to find. So keep them good if you can, is what I'm saying. 9/16 bolts for the fender. The valencer is 1/2 inch. Pretty much every bolt on the front end of this truck is going to be 1/2 inch or 9/16. Majority of them are 1/2 inch. And if you have power tools, it goes a lot quicker. A lot of times I'll break everything free by hand so you can feel if you're going to have bigger problems, like if something starts to strip. Like this one is not happy. And then again, I set it for the valence. If it makes it in the video, I don't know. You want to look for body shims. Just note where they're at. So if these fenders go back on, in theory, if you know what shims come from where, you'll get you'll get a factory body fitment again. And I don't have to memorize these because we got it all on camera of where the body shims go. Normally I have to put this in memory tape. Ratchet kit I found at the dump. Okay, there's another bolt I forgot about. It's just the bolt that goes into the cab with a nut welded to the cab. It's down in here in the firewall. It's a bigger one, and it's about this long, and I believe it's fine thread for some reason, but don't quote me on that. It's something that some people, myself included, will forget about until you go to lift off the front clip, and you're like, oh, deuce, I forgot about that. It's not very big deal. Just pull it off, and sometimes there'll be body shims in there. It depends on. Every vehicle's slightly different. So this here is a factory shim. You know that because it's F for factory. And that's the bolt I was talking about. It's not fine thread, I lied. This goes between the cab and the inner fender well, and then obviously through it. Yeah, this is a factory one, so we're good. I'll remember that came from the driver's side. So we're gonna back this one off, and then right here's where the rocker will go. And right here comes down, it's got like 2 little dog ears that come off with two bolts on each side. That connects your floor to your inner rocker, outer rocker, where your inner rocker is technically part of your floor, and then it brings the, I guess, the A-pillar down, and it sandwiches everything together. Pretty sure there's spot welds in there too, but it just kind of confirms everything fit in there. And if you do it the right way, when you go to weld your new floor in, you can move your A and B pillar in and out to make your door fit better. I can't believe that this is starting to back off now. That just blows my mind. I'll tell you one thing though, Adam, I need a haircut that day. I feel like a hobo, honestly. Look at myself in the mirror, I hardly recognize myself right now. Oh yeah. So if you look over here, Adam, like on this side, yeah. So up in here is the bolt we're removing right now. And normally this would be covered in steel, but since this is rusted, I can get in there with the squirrel, with the breaker fluid, and get it to back out. But there's a tab welded on there with 2 spot welds on either side of it. And a lot of times that breaks free when you do this one, and it can be a real bugger. And then there's one more right here. It's part of the inner fender, but it will stay on. No, not dread. This one usually breaks off. So the smartest thing to do if you know you're not going to use the fenders is tighten it on and just break it off, because that rarely stays on. Then you're just fighting it the whole time, and there's no fun in that, you know? But sometimes you just need a win when you're doing this kind of stuff. Like one bolt backing off properly makes you feel good. You'll have 10 that spin or break off. You have 1 that backs off normally. It's a good day. Oh, this one's really bad. If that backs off, that's a miracle. That one is really rusty. Half the threads are rusted away. Wish me luck. Ooh, I need a bigger ratchet for this. I don't want to break my little old Stanley. Oh! It's turning. Not liking it. There's a mouse nest in there. I think I should tighten that one on, because once that fender starts to move, it'll want to break free more. This is going to get the old treatment of tighten it till it breaks. Or I do that. Because I have access to this side, I was just about to spin it till it breaks, but now I think I'm going to move it in and out, hit it with squirrel piss as we go. Sorry, breaker fluid. This is going to be a totally different one I'm accustomed to. See this here? Get my sandwich clamps out of the way. Look at how rusty that is. That's got some wear to her, and the threads here are gone. That's what I meant by the threads were rusted away. I'm surprised that backed out of there. I was close to just twisting on until it broke. All right, so now I got to get these rad hoses off, the heater core hoses, and we don't want to make a big mess, because this thing, if you look in here, I don't know if you can see it, but there is coolant in it. How good it is, I don't know, but this is nice and clean. We haven't wiped it down or anything. That's just the way she is. So yeah, I'd say it's about 3/4 full. So you know the engine is full of coolant. We don't want it spewing out everywhere, but we do have to disconnect the heater core hoses from the heater core. Yeah. So this one off here, I think, and that one off, and then we'll just plunk it down and tighten it on. So then it'll just create a closed circuit. We're gonna lose whatever is in the heater core, but it is what it is. We'll throw a pan or something underneath to try to catch some. Well, that was good clean coolant. I gotta get that pan under there. I didn't think it was that high. This is gonna be the one that pisses me. I might just have to All that worrying for no reason. Oh, spoke too soon. Well, that's coming out of the heater core, so no big deal. Not a big deal at all. Give that a helping hand. Because this is coming to my house and I don't want it all over my shop. It's seen enough. It's done its job with soaking up coolant over the years. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but my shop, it was a machine shop for what I don't know. But then the guy, that was many years ago, back in the 40s and 50s. Then the guy that owned it before me, he used to build airplanes in my shop. The more you know. They make these two different sizes, so one can be wait, that would have been fine. That's good. Okay, one last thing. Another thing that we should really do is like this right here. Gotta make sure this is positive, right? It's running down to the starter and to the main wiring harness, the 6772s. That's very normal. It should be red, so that tells me right in here, right in there. That probably right there is where these two are joined up because somebody grounded out that circuit. You can see bare wires in there already. And I noticed earlier today over here, it's all heat messed up. So if someone's, to do it properly, someone would have to pull this wiring harness apart and replace probably that one wire or any wire that's damaged, but most likely just the main power wire to your ignition. Normally I'm a lot more organized. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'll bag everything. Like I would put this right here in a bag with the other side and label it. But I forgot my bags at home, and yeah, I feel a little disorganized and got all my hardware sitting along the roof. Not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. I'll end up putting all this stuff in the glove box. The only saving grace is I've done this so many times, I have an idea where everything goes just from looking at the nuts and bolts. I know what should go where. But I do highly recommend if you're trying to be as precise as possible, take a minute extra and bag everything, write on it with a Sharpie, what goes where. It really does make a difference when you start putting things back together. See, if this didn't have the coil in there, we'd put this right back. And of course, it had to be when we lift it, we can bring it forward or over the tires. It can be a little annoying. Lift it over once the bumper's out, and we just right out. But we need to do it with the hood closed, so it's gonna take some jigging to get it up and over. Well, to be honest with you, other than the weather, today's going really, really well. Yeah. Other than, oh, and one more thing, the torches. We're waiting on the torches. That's why the front bumper's not off yet. But everything's going really good. I've got this little bracket that sits down in here. We'll show you in a second. And then it's out. It's out. What I'm going to do now is remove the bulkhead connector. Looks to be a 3/8. Slides in there. You don't want to put pressure into the cab when you back these off, because you'll pop the nut cert out on the other side of the bulkhead connector. And this should just back right out. This was moving by hand and now she's getting stiff. Not a big deal. Get in there with the ratchet. And then these will pop right out. I'll show you once we get this out. coming out as one unit anyways. Okay, that doesn't happen all that often, but I'm happy it happened today. This pops out, and this bulkhead connector is in two pieces. If you look here real close, they slide apart like that. This is what you call your headlight wiring harness, and then this one up here is for your engine wiring harness, and they come in separate pieces completely. They disconnect off each other, obviously. So, front clip is getting really close to being fully disconnected. I gotta get the emergency brake cable off of the fender well, as well as figure out the speedo cable, either disconnect it from inside or disconnect it off the transmission, pull her up. And then I gotta assess, like just by after I said that, I noticed that the heater block, or the block heater cord is still connected. So gotta cut that free, throw it on the engine. And that's what you wanna do, is make sure things that you don't wanna remove entirely are pulled and just organized somewhere else. When I can, I'll take this, slide that back in there. Ta-da. Then you got these two little guys here, which this is not a factory thing. At least I've never seen this before. I don't think that's factory. Just looking at these connectors, I know it's not. Okay. Yeah, another thing that just popped into my head, assessing what I gotta do, you gotta get the alternator wires off of it. Because, yeah, a lot of it's just following things that go from here to the engine and from here to the firewall. Gotta pop them off so you don't break any connections. There should be one physical plastic plug, like this right here, and then one hard connection. Yeah, cool. So this is not bolted down. I need to get under the dash, disconnect the e-brake cable, and as well as the speedo cable. So Shorty Index and I are going to rip these seats out real quick. They're not bolted in. They're covered in what I assume is dog hair. Yeah, the guy that had this truck before had some big dogs that he must have let in here. So let's go ahead and get on that. Plush seats, buddy.
Touch it. I'm not touching it.
Man, you work on these old trucks, you gotta get used to vehicles in general. You gotta get used to the smell of nose poop and other things, I guess, too. I'm not saying I enjoy it, but it's part of the job, I suppose. What you want is the biggest pair of pliers you can get. There's a little cotter pin in here. So go get go get the biggest pliers you can get to work in the smallest area possible. There's a little cotter pin up here holding the e-brake cable on. You just got to get it out. Nothing crazy. It's more annoying with the seat in here. The second we got the seats out, it became a lot easier. I didn't need one of those. This is slick. Come on, baby. There. Okay, I got the cotter pin out. This is I don't know. It's a cotter pin. Yeah, I call that cotter pin. You want to use your pliers as hammer. This truck's actually not that dirty, other than that what I assume is dog hair. What do you think it is, Shorty?
It's gotta be dog hair.
Yeah, came from a big old dog.
Or one of those fluffy villain cats.
Yeah, big old tomcat, eh?
Yeah.
Ugh. That is important. What just flew over here. Oh, everything's important, but yeah. This is something that I would bag, just so when you go to reassemble, you know what it is. So that goes through dog ears, like that, and then when you pull on it, it pulls the lever back and forth. I'm great at explaining stuff with my hands, so. Okay, there's another bolt there. And then the speedo cable, if memory serves me, it's just a twist on. You gotta get up here into the unknown. Feel for the speedo cable. Oh, I'm working on the square body too much. And just twist it off. You see this? Cowabunga. That's super cool. I want to, man, that's awesome. What's this one say? Banff, Canada.
Canadian land.
Canadian land. Okay, what is it? I gotta get a 1/2 inch by the look of it. And then the e-brake cable will fight me getting through the firewall like they always do, but we'll get it, don't worry. See this farm fix here? Man, I grabbed it. Look at this, for my meat hooks. Grab that. That is smooth action. I like that better than the factory ones, just because my meat hooks can grab onto a lot slicker. So if you remember at the beginning of the video, I made reference to this truck being a 72, and then shortly after that, I corrected myself to thinking it was a 71 because it didn't have these, and the door tag on the driver door, the little blue tag, said 71 6 month. So everything's pointing towards it being a 71. And then I'm noticing things that I've always believed were only on 72s, like this gas tank. And if you want to show them that vent there in the door frame. Now, I'm not an expert, but I've only experienced this stuff being in 72s. So, and it doesn't have 72 door panels. So I guess the only for sure way to figure out if it's a 71 or 72 is crunch the VIN in the door. But yeah, so just General Motors of Canada, or GMC Canadian division, is they used a lot of random parts to finish their trucks. So the trucks do have slight variants from Canada down into America. And yeah, this might just be one of them down in America, where a lot of our information comes from, because there was way more of those trucks sold. Maybe 72s had this tank, and 72s had that, and 72s had the door panels. And maybe up here, 71, they started using this stuff. Who knows? And if you do know, let me know in the comments, because I'm always willing to learn. I do know, I feel like I have really good information on these trucks, but I'm always open and I'm always willing to open up my horizons on more information for them, because Canada and America were different countries. We had different regulations. So maybe there is a difference, and I just don't know about it. But if you know, let me know. These are going to be the factory color. Thank you. Videotape you working?
Nah.
No?
Just wanted to get my hand in it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on, I'm Shorty Index. We'll do the stub hand.
That's good. Well, this is kind of neat. I've never encountered this before. Can it hear me, do you think?
Yep.
Yeah, is this right here? I'm not saying this is rare or anything. It's just something I've never paid attention to. Yeah, I wonder if my the short wide 72 short box 4x4 we have at Schelly's shop has this on it too. Never pay attention. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but when you're doing this, when you're pulling on these old rubber hoses, it doesn't take a lot of force to put them on, but when you're pulling them off, you don't know when it's going to snap. So I always feel like such a little coward. When I was a kid, I skinned a lot of knuckles on things from being dumb and pulling on things when I should have been, you know, just cutting it off with a razor blade. Okay, so these are factory and they're in really good shape. These got to go into the bolt bin pile. Oh, God. This is a little bit of plastic. There's even fuel in here. Oh, it's about that full. Yeah. A lot of times, depends on how old that gasket is right there on the side. It will fight you. So yeah, sometimes if you get it, it's not full of fuel. No, I'm gonna have to pop that manually with a flathead screwdriver. Oh, it's actually pretty pliable. Oh, goodbye forever, screwdriver. Maybe you're. Yeah, And after this thing will slide right out of there. If you push too much, you'll break it. I like to try to reuse these. That's all it took. That's it, folks. This thing is almost, I bet you there's a quarter tank in here. Yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it, getting this thing out of here. Sweet. I don't know about down in America or anywhere else in the world, but tanks in Canada have gotten a little ridiculous, especially for the really old steel. And these trucks are getting quite old. How I check them, because if you just, I'll back up. If you just try to look in the tank by taking this off, there's a neck that comes down about this far. You can't see hardly anything. So you put a flashlight here, pop this off, and you can look around. Or then vice versa, just to see the condition of the tank. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, and if this makes it in the video and you didn't know, you're welcome. If you already knew and rolling your eyes at me, at least I can make you laugh. Yeah, okay, watch it. Let's give this our best. Just push down on it. Just kind of get it with stance. I'm going to spray it straight down on it. Just kind of keep an eye on it. It seems like it's spinning. I mean, that whole, this section right here. Yeah. See how that's straight? That's like a washer, and that should turn and catch the side. Gotcha. But if then that starts spinning inside of that. Okay. That's right. The blare's going on now. That energy drink. So yeah, we just got the cap bolts out. Shorty Index gave me a hand. We backed the two front ones out, which is an actual bolt and nut. The back ones are a cage nut, and then the bolt comes in from the bottom. It all came out real slick. We got the gas tank out. That's all good. Then Shorty Index Adam just gave me a hand trying to get the front carriage bolts out of the rad support. No bueno, they're not moving whatsoever. So we're still waiting on the acetylene to show up, and we're just gonna cut those out at the same time we cut the bumper bolts out. So I guess now we're just gotta pull the steering column and then go over everything. But I think we're in pretty good shape for having all this ready to pop the front clip off and pretty much take the cab right off. There's nothing, there should be nothing attaching the cab to the frame now. Yeah, speedo cable's out, e-brake cable's out, steering is about to be disconnected, that's the only thing. And then we're in good shape, so yeah. Bent in such a way I can't see the bolt.
I see it.
Windy. Not as much jam in there as I So I'm trying to avoid hurting the frame. This torch is way better than the one at Schelly's shop, I tell ya. Maybe cutting from the top isn't the most. The wind's picking up. We're probably going to switch to just more of silent footage just because the wind's getting pretty bad. We're going to pop the front clip off. We got a few more little things to do. We cut all the bolts off. Everything's going fairly well other than the wind. And after this is off, then we're going to put our attention to the cab. Like I already said, our cab bolts are out. We got to drop the stickers off. And we're in good shape. So hang around.
done so.
That's how it's done. Okay, we got a lot of work done in that dust storm. It kicked up there pretty good. Stuff was flying everywhere. If you can't see it in the footage we took, doors were slamming. The camera took a couple tumbles, but we managed. The cab came off. I had to pop the doghouse off, as you're probably going to watch, and pull out all the bolts for it. They're 1/2 inch. Disconnected the throttle cable on a 71, 72. It's a sleeve type with a wire running through it. It's pretty normal on square bodies. What else did we do? I think, and a bunch of little tiny stuff. Just go look, double check everything. One more thing, when we were lifting up with the Bobcat, I didn't notice that one of the exhaust hangers was attached to the back of the box, so it created a bit of havoc. It grabbed the box and grabbed the cab, pushed it forward right into the motor. We didn't end up breaking the distributor cap. It's not paying attention. That's the kind of stuff that will happen, but we made it all good. Ivan seems like he's pretty happy. Oh, thanks, man. just. So we're all done here. Ivan's gonna rip it over to Schelly's shop. Yeah, it's a good day. Windy, good day. So as you can tell, so from what I just was saying, how dusty it was, look at us. You can't see ShortyIndex, but he's covered in dust as well. I forgot to say goodbye in the last video. Really appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. It really does go a long way for us. If you haven't subscribed and you want to, it would go a long way for us as well. Yeah, well, until next time, cheers.